Hi, this is Coach Sandy. Thanks so much for purchasing this course, Navigating the Curves of Life. I appreciate you being here. There will be several sessions, and you can do these sessions in your own speed, time, around your own demands on your life. I'm sure you're very busy. So I hope that you will find both the PowerPoint that I'm about to share with you and my words to explain a little bit more detail and give you a voice and some additional thoughts and expand on the PowerPoint. But the PowerPoint is attached, and I have, so you can print that if you like, but I've also attached, as we go along, different pieces of that PowerPoint. And the concept is some of us are visual learners, some of us need the words to really help us to connect the dots. Some of us like to read, and some of us like to put it all together. So there's layers here for whatever type of learner you are. And I hope that this all makes sense and that you find great value here. I will be available for Q&A. If you want to send me a message, that is perfectly fine. There will be a space for you to do that. So let's jump right in. I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can actually see the PowerPoint presentation and join in here as we go along. So navigating the curves of life. The name of my business is actually Wellness with Attitude. And just a funny backstory, when I was growing up as a teenager, maybe like many of you, my mother told me I had an attitude. So as I came along in life, and I've had several different businesses, certainly being a body-centric coach, started out my coaching career. I didn't really want to be what they call a life coach, but I have transitioned to helping people to work with change and navigate transformation. So here we are. Still the umbrella over the name of the business is Wellness with Attitude. So here we go, Coach Sandy. And we're going to talk about navigating the curves of life. So this is going to be a way that you can choose to be in contact with me. And whether you want an email or whether you want to get to know me a little bit more in Facebook or on YouTube. I have Thoughtful Thursdays posted up on YouTube. I've attached a few of those here in this program, just again as another layer to help you get to know me. I think it's very important that the client and the coach have a bond, a way of a style of communication, if you will. So that's why I wanted to offer you these other components. You may be somebody that this course will be absolutely enough, and you will work your way through, and it will trigger some thoughts and ideas and concepts, give you some things that you want to work on. Or you may be somebody that wants a little bit more, and maybe to join into the Facebook group will be more than enough. I give tips and tidbits there, and that might be just great for you to kind of interact there. Or you may get a chuckle out of some of the YouTubes and want to refer back to them and give you a little bit more augmentation. Or the other thing that we'll talk about near the end of the program is, because I am a coach, I believe in group coaching. I think there's a lot of energy and wisdom there in the groups. Typically, I work with women between the ages, over the age of 45, I should say. That doesn't mean that if you're 36, you wouldn't get value out of this, but those are typically the ages that I find are most in need of support. They're often in transition, and that's where I try and be of service. So jumping right in, let's talk about the curves of life. So it begins with our beliefs. So our beliefs come from a myriad of places. And one of the things that I'd like for you to do, and you might need to stop the video after this slide and then come back to it, you can decide what's best for you. But I think it's important to kind of do an evaluation. So we're going to be starting with that process, getting to know yourself a little bit better. So we look at our beliefs, and there are some truths And so you ask yourself, is this really true? Then you ask yourself, is this really true? And then you ask yourself a third time, is this true? So some of you might find Byron Katie to be a resource for this. Her book, her podcasts help you to go deeper and to ask some questions. Tony Robbins would say to ask better questions, not the same question over and over again. So knowledge is a part of how we form our beliefs. And then we have to look at, are they our truths? Are they truths that we've adopted from someone? Most of us have had some parenting, some teachers, some maybe mentors. So all of this kind of comes into the mix to form our beliefs. Many of our beliefs are very supportive. Some of our beliefs are not, but we just kind of muddle along with them. So part of this course is going to be evaluation, self-evaluation, to help you to determine, are these the beliefs that I want to work with? Are they really serving me? So then we have our buts. Oh, I don't know about you, but I've made a few buts in my life, and these are my rationalizations for why now is not a good time to do something. Maybe it's I was a single parent, I had kids at home, I worked on 100% commission. It wasn't a time for me to do something different, try something new. It wasn't a good time to go into a relationship. I didn't want to go and take a job that took me away from my kids, even though it would have given me more solid income and it would have given me health insurance. Our buts are also the good angel, bad angel. We'll talk about that again in a couple of slides ahead. That are the voices that we hear in our head. Nobody wants to hear what you have to say. What makes you think that you have anything to offer? You're not very articulate. You didn't go to college. People don't really relate to you. And so we've got a whole bunch of buts, and I'm sure you can come up with many of your own. So we're going to try and put those butts to rest and maybe get off our butts to do that very thing. Movement is a very positive force. And so when we learn and we move and we breathe, all of these things can come together to support us, and we'll have better, clear thinking. We'll be more energized. Roadblocks. We all have them, and how we approach those roadblocks will have a lot to determine where you go in life. So if there's a roadblock ahead of you, it maybe takes a little more than hitting the GPS button to say, give me an alternate route. But it is like that in your head. You want to have a button that you can hit and say, okay, this route is not working for me. There is a roadblock. What can I do to make a difference? What can I do to get around it? Who can I call in for help? What are my other options? So we are going to have roadblocks. And if you got to this point and you think that I have a magic answer for how to get you through the curves of life and avoid all those roadblocks, probably at time to ask for a refund, because we're all going to have them, and it's how we approach those roadblocks that really makes the difference. Because if we're going forward in life, and we should be, and we're learning, and we're taking on new challenges or adventures, there are going to be roadblocks. So one of the things that I believe about coaching is I will tell you the truth, I will be authentic, I will answer your questions, and I will try and do that through this program, showing you some of the skinned knees that I have certainly had. And my goal would be to help you avoid some of those skinned knees, but it doesn't mean there won't be roadblocks. So moving on to our next slide, I think it also is critically important for you to get to know you, your characteristics, the personality that drives you, both professionally and personally. So when you look at this, there are a lot of different kinds of programs that are out there, and you might have already been put through one of these programs to help you find that head-heart connection, that move forward, hold yourself back, lean into your personality, back out of your personality, don't be so direct, whatever it might be. So let's just kind of go through this. One of the ones that I became trained in years ago is the DISC personality. And so your DISC personality says your D is going to be a very direct person. They're going to tell it to you like it is, whether you want to hear it or not. They can be pretty dictatorial. Their directing is the obvious part. And so these are people that maybe you are a D and you're perfectly happy being a D. You're a leader. You're perfectly comfortable giving people your opinion, sometimes even when they didn't ask for it. When you need to tell someone no, you don't just say no with an apology, you say no. And that's that. So an influencer loves to tell stories. So marketing or sales can be a lot about stories, but they're interesting. They're the people that at a party, they've got a group around them. They're usually telling some kind of story that pulls you in, and maybe it makes you laugh, maybe it makes you cry. But an influencer, that in person uses their stories to be an influencer. So there's usually a purpose, a method, a plan in their storytelling. Now, steadiness is the person that we probably all want to have somewhere in our lives. So if you're a steadiness person, you're probably kind of popular. You show up when you say you will, you hold your appointments, you don't back out on people, your word is your bond. And so a steadiness person, if you either are one or you certainly want to have one in your life. Compliance. Now, these are the people that not only read all the rules, but they actually follow all the rules. So if somebody says you need to do A before you can do B, the D personality is going to be already at C, maybe work back to B, and probably never get to A. But the compliance person is typically somebody who really plays by the rules. They're also somebody who in business is very detail oriented. So it might be an accountant, a CPA. I am neither of those things. And so in my DISC personality, I told you I would be honest and forthright with you. My C is like, if you could be less than 0, that's probably my C. If you send me to the grocery store and tell me to get bread and make sure it's gluten-free, you have maybe a 50-50 chance that I'll come home with gluten-free bread. My DISC personality is I'm an I primarily, which you're probably going to figure out as we go through these slides. Words and I get along pretty well. Telling stories is a way that has helped me to both communicate with people, learn about people. I'm a good listener in addition to telling stories. And my D is my second. So my I is high, my D is pretty high. My S is a good balance in that when I give you my word, it is my word, and I honor my word, and I'm pretty steady with my appointments, etc. But I do like change. So as my daughter would say, who loves change, and my son would say, who doesn't love change, I was either very easy to get along with as a mom or not so easy to get along with as a mom. So you can probably guess which one felt which way. So the other one that I think is a way of looking at ourselves is the Socrates methods. So when you look at a sanguine personality, they're going to be curious about life. They're going to like change. They're going to enjoy creativity. Their reading is going to be all over the board, different kinds of knowledge that they love to absorb, and high energy. For example, my husband is a sanguine personality. He's also a high D. He can read 3 and 4 books at a time and absorb it, and he's always on to the next. He has a number of hobbies, and none of them is just like gardening, although he does garden. But they're more high energy. They're a little more complicated. They take a lot of brain power. So that might be your sanguine personality. or an example of that. Now, your phlegmatic personality is somebody who's pretty unassuming, they're agreeable, they might be an intuitive, empathetic, warm, cooperative, and trusting. And so none of us is only one of these things. We are a blend, but one is higher than the other. So I probably come in more as the phlegmatic personality here, as I work a lot, especially with my clients and in my own life and with my family. I'm pretty intuitive and empathetic. I've never misdiagnosed my kids, who are now young adults with kids of their own. So I tune into that kind of thing. I'm pretty trusting and people trust me, but I'm also high energy. I'm curious and creative, but I certainly can't read 3 or 4 books at a time. So you're maybe starting to get the idea, you're relating to one of these as, gee, that's more like me, or this is more like me. And as we go further, you're going to understand how this impacts how you make choices in your life, how you navigate those curves of life. So give me just a second here. Now, your choleric personality. They're very practical. They're goal-oriented. They can be very independent, decisive, they're competent, and they're logical. So for choleric, they're going to have to see the plan, digest the plan, have independence to work through the plan. They're going to be decisive when they hit a fork in the road, but they're competent. And then they go back to their logic to manage it all. So a choleric personality is somebody that if you are not a choleric personality, but you're on a team, you're going to definitely want one of these people because they will keep the team on track. Now, a melancholic personality is somebody who's pretty calm. They're not going to want to be front and center on the stage like either sanguine or phlegmatic. They are going to be very respectful and orderly. Again, these people are very good at details. They're persistent. They're patient. So they have, when we talk about patience, they will come around to the same topic, the same subject, the same problem or issue again and again, and they will work through it. They're also very loyal. They're great friends, and they like traditions. So that may be something that you can relate to quite a lot. I moved from New England, and New England was pretty set, as I think all cultures are, in their tradition, but it was the traditions that I grew up with. And so my sister would be more of a melancholic. She was a great grade school teacher, grammar school teacher. She had the patience of an angel, but she loved all the traditions. She was very loyal to the other staff. And certainly respectful, orderly, and calm. So that might give you an idea of that melancholic personality. Now, if you've been in the corporate world, you might have already gone through Myers-Briggs, which is the Enfp. So that talks about whether you are kind of naturally an introvert or an extrovert. Now, there are a lot of introverts who walk in a very extroverted role. They have learned to be there, but they're also very comfortable to be alone. And then you've got the sensing or intuition. So that sensing person is going to go more by what I see, the body language, and what the spoken word is, where the person that deals with their intuition is going to go more in the what is the message within the words, and what am I just sensing energetically. Thinking and feeling probably can get a clear vision of that. Somebody who is the thinker is really going to break things apart and analyze them, and somebody who's doing the feeling is just going to be a little more reactive, a little bit more spontaneous. The judging and perceiving, again, I think kind of goes along with exactly what those words are. One is the judging is going to be more black and white, and the perceiving is going to be more gray. So here's my little secret, my communication with you as being authentic. I am an ENFP. And now here's a fun party game. So if you're getting together with friends or family, or you're a teacher and you're in the faculty room, or wherever you might be, you're in an office, you can ask everybody to pick their favorite shape. The shapes are going to be rectangle, triangle, circle, square, or squiggly line. Now, oftentimes people don't want to say they're a square because of some of the other connotations that are in there. So if you can get them past that and tell them the square is not what you're thinking. So if you like squares and you like things very symmetrical like that, go ahead and pick the square. So a square is going to kind of relate up to when we did the disc. A square is going to fit more into the compliance and the rules, very steady, systematic. A circle is going to be somebody who is very gregarious. So they're easy to get along with. So that's more like the phlegmatic or the I. It's going to be that person who goes in and has the coffee ready when you come into the office, or at a gathering is going to make sure that everybody has a seat or everybody has food. So very warm, kind of encircling. They may be the huggers. So your rectangle is going to be somebody who's usually in transition. And so they've gone through some change. They may have been a square, or they may be going to be a square. They may have been a triangle and they were really in charge. They were the leader. And now this is a different season in their life, and they no longer want to lead a pack of cats. They just kind of want to be there and go with the flow. So that's a transitionary shape. And so the triangle is that person who's going to forge ahead. They're going to make a way. They're going to move to the top. They might become an entrepreneur. They might become the CEO. And then the squiggly line is the very artistic people. So they're the people that can just look at something and see the art. They can look at an old building and see the architecture and what is overlying that. They may be a painter or an artist or a writer. So the squiggly line is somebody that you want to have on your team if you're in an artistic business. And if you're a CPA or an accountant, they will drive you insane because they don't even hear the instructions that you gave them the same way as you intended to give it to them. They have their own interpretation. And so they just dance to a different beat, as we've often heard people say. So hopefully this has helped you to kind of determine what category you're in and what you relate to. So you've heard Dale Carnegie's book, Making Friends and Influencing People. Great book. But here we're going to look at it from the context of our communication style and how we build our roadmap for the things that happen next. So authentic people really want to talk the talk, walk their walk, and have their own voice. They're not afraid to speak that voice. Now, depending on your background, whether you're a D or an I, you're going to voice it differently, but you're still going to be willing to voice it. Vulnerability. Vulnerability is something that does not come easily to many people. It's one of the reasons that as I go through this course and offer this course in my style of coaching, I have learned through the seasons of my life to be more vulnerable. I have recognized that there were times in my life when I felt I had to have all the answers. I had to be that strong leader. And though I still believe in leadership, I also believe more in vulnerability. So these are real people who are open to acknowledging the mistakes that they've made, but still accept the responsibility. That there's you don't have to have a conversation that has a winner and loser in it. And vulnerability allows for less judgment and more acceptance. So the next one is being real. So being real, similar to vulnerability, but different. If you've never read The Velveteen Rabbit, I hope you'll go and pick it up. It is one of my all-time favorite books. My kids used to laugh because I was probably the only woman on earth who we read The Velveteen Rabbit every Christmas Eve, because I think the messages in there are very valuable. And the Velveteen Rabbit was loved by the little boy, and the little boy didn't notice that the Velveteen Rabbit was all matted and his satin was worn out. He just loves the Velveteen Rabbit. And so sometimes we really need those things around us that make us comfortable, that make us feel real and feel what we love is real. And so that is a form of how we communicate with ourselves, and it does translate out into our communication and style with other people. We need to be willing to listen and learn. And there's an adage that we were given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. It's all the better to listen twice as much as you speak. So do you know how to listen? Do you know how to capture not only the words, but the essence of what people are saying, the meaning of the words for them? Different words mean different things for different people. Listening to their body language and the inflections of their tone of voice is priceless. My daughter has become a freelance writer, and her business theme is words matter. And words definitely matter. Making fun of somebody, even just a little fun, just a casual kind of, oh, you're so silly. Those kinds of words, that kind of communication becomes layered, and it makes the other person feel less than. So even though our intention might be to make light of something, if we're making a comment that makes someone else feel less than, it may be okay the first time or the 10th time, but it really does start to build up. So just think about the words that you're using and the messages that they convey. So let's talk about releasing control. Control can be like an addiction. You're a hard worker, you're being conscientious, you are wanting to control each situation that you're in, which can be awesome. And you can be a great hard worker and a great entrepreneur and great on a team, but we also need to allow for space for other people's thoughts to connect for the bigger picture, to allow that input. That kind of communication can actually create greater results. So that 2 ears and 1 mouth, listening without judgment, asking good questions to understand is an important one. Culture. Culture is a little bit tricky. So you have to ask yourself, what does success mean? Does success mean that you're going to persevere at all costs? Do you believe that you can quit before you're actually finished? So are you somebody who starts things but doesn't necessarily finish them, moves on to either the next shiny thing or has a but or an excuse? So what is your culture? Do you honestly believe that you have the power to make a difference, that you can carry an impact with you in your life and on this journey? And perhaps that you're the kind of person who believes in being careful, moving carefully. So that would be your progression, one step at a time. So none of these are completely right. None of them are completely wrong. We are a blend of all of them, but we have a style, we have a culture, we have a way of being. And we have, if you're asked somebody to say, do you think I'm vulnerable, or do you think I'm a control freak, or, you know, what kind of response would you get? So maybe you want to be willing to ask those kinds of questions. So risk or reward, safe and steady. How do we want to put all of this together? Do you know your patterns, your habits? Where do you feel your best? Do you perform with authenticity? Your decisions, how do you make decisions? Do you make them fast, slow? You step up to the challenge? You have to analyze them, or you are very action oriented. So what goes through your head when you're thinking about how you make decisions, how you move forward, how you navigate those curves of life? Do you ask for help when you feel at risk? Or do you seek to be safe? Just settle in and get support, maybe? So you can ask for help, but then when you ask for help, do you allow somebody to help you? Do you let them support you? If you're seeking safety and kind of running away from fear, do you even voice the fear? How does that happen? We are complicated human beings. And so part of what my message as we go through this is getting to know you. So as I said in the very beginning, you can stop this at any time. You can come back to it at any time. Maybe you want to continue going through. There's just a couple more slides, kind of get an overview, then take out a paper and pencil and come back, or sit at the computer, I guess, or dictate into your phone the answers to some questions. So let's continue, because we're going to talk about change. So what's your first reaction to change? Yay, exciting, new adventure, something new to try. I love to step up to the plate. I love to be first. Or change. I just wish everything would stay the same. I wish the world would go back to the way it was. I really like my traditions. I like to have spaghetti every Friday, or I guess it was, what was it? I'm dating myself here. Prince Spaghetti Day, I think it was Wednesday. So what do you like to have stay steady that you can count on? Or can you go either way? So let's say maybe in your personal life, you love adventure and you love something new and you like to travel and you like to make new friends. And so change doesn't bother you, but maybe it does bother you in your personal life. Maybe you really have worked hard to get to the position and the level that you're at. You don't really want to have things disrupted. Don't mess with the apple cart. So do you go into a success loop or a tailspin? So sometimes when we have challenges placed in front of us, how we react to that is going to be very relative to the personality that we talked about earlier on. It's also going to be relative to your confidence or your lack of confidence. And you can be very confident in one role and not so confident in another role. So maybe you're very confident as a mother, but going into a leadership role to take on the responsibility and the decisions, even though you do it awesomely in your personal life, and heaven knows being a parent and juggling kids' schedules and making that house run, those are really some big skills that you have, but you may not have translated those skills to being able to be an office manager. So what is it? A success loop? Yes, I have these skills, or a tailspin. That other voice back here saying, those skills are not translatable. Just because you can juggle 3 kids, a budget, meal planning, get those kids to all the ball games and do everything seamlessly, and then still look calm, cool, and collected, when you're out socially or with friends, or show up for another friend, those are all real skills, but you only see it in one way. So success loop, tailspin. Here's a great one. Are you playing big or are you playing safe? So again, there's no right or wrong answer, and I don't want you to feel that you should be judged for either one of these. If playing it safe has gotten you to where you are, and this is a good thing for you, then you will probably continue in that style. If playing big has gotten you some big rewards and you've lost some big stuff, but you are okay with it, you'll probably continue to play big. Now you can see that there can be a crossover, and different seasons of our lives, different choices that we make, different partners that we have, or different times in our children's lives, or whether we become a caretaker for our mom or dad or sister, or whatever it might be. There's a time that you may have always played big and now you're going to play safe, or there may come a time when you've always played safe and now you're just going to say, you know what, I've always played safe. It's done okay for me, but I have some things I really want to do now. They're my passions. And I'm going to just go forward and I'm going to take a leap of faith to deal with that. That's one of the biggest reasons women particularly come to me as their coach. I've had a lot of different seasons in my life. I'm willing to share them vulnerably. I'm willing to listen and not judge. And so I have women who have come to me who have been playing it safe for a very long time, and they're not really thrilled. They're not really happy, or they've been through a divorce and now they can't play it safe anymore. They really have to step up and do something that's a little bit more assertive, or a little bit more challenging, or a little riskier. So there are all sorts of reasons why people decide that, okay, I've gone through these curves in life. I've managed some of them. Some of them have come on a little too fast. Some of them I've taken the curve a little too rapidly. Some of them I went off the cliff. And so friends are great, but sometimes friends aren't enough. Family is usually wanting to protect you, not usually wanting to help you to venture on to the next step. So we have to evaluate where our information is coming from, whether it's giving us what we need at any particular juncture or curve in our life. And sometimes that's very often why people choose to have a coach, because they can get things adjusted faster. As I said, I have had many skin knees. I raised 2 kids on 100% commission. And there was a time when I had to borrow money. And with that money, I had to make a decision. Do I pay the mortgage, or do I borrow more product? I was a sales director with Mary Kay Cosmetics at the time. And do I order more inventory so that I can stay in business? And I'll let you guess which one I did. And then if we decide to work together, I'll tell you the answer, tell you if your guess is right. So I want you to take a little mini experiment. So as you've listened to me, I've talked with you a lot. I've given you a lot of ideas. It's going to take going through this more than once to really break it down. But I want you to just try something, just a nice little easy experiment. Try giving to someone. Maybe it's a kind word. Maybe you finish listening to this today and you pick up the phone, or you send a text, or you knock on your neighbor's door and you just offer a kind word or offer a kindness. Maybe you have a senior person who needs something at the grocery store. Maybe you water somebody else's plants. Whatever it might be, offer assistance, offer a compliment, and then maybe even consider something bigger, like paying it forward, buying somebody a coffee or a lunch or whatever it may be. And then sit back and just notice how you feel. How do you feel after you do a kindness for somebody? And write it down, because that's going to be a memory you want to pull back in. So let's move along to the next slide, which is the in crowd. You know, we all love to be loved. We love to be accepted. We love to be appreciated. Most of us are not really looking to go through life feeling judged, disliked, or different. But there is some of that that's going to go on wherever we are. You know, we hear about the teenagers who do something that they know they shouldn't do. They know it's not congruent with their values. It's not congruent with the way they were raised, and yet they go ahead and do it anyway. Peer pressure. And so they're wanting to be accepted. They're wanting to have people like them. So we need to take a look at this and decide, is this a motivator? Is it a deterrent? How do we manage this? So do you need to be accepted? Do you need to be liked and included? And I agree, who doesn't? We like it, but do we need it? Do you prefer not to make waves? Or are you willing to go out of your way to keep everything calm? So remember when we talked about those shapes? Somebody who wants everything to be calm and not to have people in an uncomfortable situation. So that covers the next one too. Will you make those around you comfortable, or can you work with some discomfort? A circle personality, the more circle you have, the less you're going to want to make waves, the more you're going to want everybody around you to be comfortable. Once again, that kind of personality in a group is a real asset, but we want to make sure that it's serving you and not just serving the group. Are you more likely to have breakdowns, or are you more likely to push for a breakthrough? Do you internalize what's happening out there so much that it impacts you negatively, that you can't get out of bed, that you have another drink to bury your thoughts and your feelings, that you open up that next bag of chips even though you just finished one? So what is driving you? You know, part of what we try to do, coach to client, is peel back the layer. So whether you're thinking of it as an onion with all those layers and you peel one and then you peel the next, or whether you just think about it as, okay, this is the first layer that I show the world, but there are other layers underneath here. And sometimes you haven't even looked at those layers in a long time, if ever. So confrontation is not a word that we toss around lightly. We don't want to be confrontational, but sometimes we need to work and voice our opinions to be heard, versus, and I like this one, can it be carefrontation? So you're caring for yourself and you're caring for others. You're not being confrontational, you're being carefrontational. So you can be leading and growing and even addressing adversity, but in a less direct manner, not in somebody's face. Let me tell you how this is going to be. This is the way we did it. This is the way we planned it. This is the way it's going to go, because I said. And so that would be more confrontational. Now, I will tell you that as a single mother, I was sometimes confrontational. When the kid said, well, why? I said, because I'm the mother, that's why. So just a little humor, maybe you can relate. But in my business world, as I managed people, as I recruited and as I trained, I was a trainer for a lot of years, I was definitely not confrontational. I was carefrontational. And I think caring for people is something that others can see and feel. And that's where that's where I want to come from. So transformation for you, think about this. Does it equal irritation? Adjustment? Does transformation mean reevaluation? Are you stepping into, or are you stepping out of, away from change? One of my best friends really has been very successful, but disliked change. When we were both sales directors with Mary Kay, the company wanted us to hold meetings in the olden days every Monday night. I didn't like Monday nights. I liked Tuesdays. And then I didn't like just Tuesday. I liked every other Tuesday. So my friend over here who doesn't like change said, that's not the way it is. She's a rule follower. That's not the way it is. That's not what the company wants. And I said, but I have really looked at my people and looked at my life and what I need for balance. And I'm going to go for every other Tuesday. She's over here saying, no, that's not the way it should be. Now, she's been very successful. So neither way was right. It was what fit our styles and how we approached the feeling of change. So I hope that helps you to kind of get a visual that life is not just right or wrong. So energy, how we eat, the foods we choose to eat, how many carbs we eat, how many sugars are going through our body, whether we get 6 hours of sleep at night or 9 hours of sleep at night, all of those things relate to the energy that we have in our body, whether we get out in nature, whether we take a walk, how we breathe, how much movement we have. But energy is also taken out of us for many of us when there's a challenge in front of us. We freeze. The energy just drains from our body and we're not making good decisions anymore. Some of us, it energizes us. It's a challenge and I'm going to meet that challenge and I'm going to show them and I'm going to be number one, and however that works for you. Deadlines. When I was in 100% sales and trying to earn my Cadillacs, there were deadlines. Did they motivate me? Yes, they did. Did they terrify me? Yes, they did. Was that an inspirational time for me? Is that the way I liked to work? No, it was not. I like to get things done ahead of time, but I don't like to be held with my feet to the fire. But there was a time in my life that was what was expected, and that was the numbers that I had to hit and the time frame that I had to hit. So I did that. My daughter works on deadlines as a freelance writer. It makes her crazy. There are just times when, she's just in her world and doing what she has to do. So maybe you can relate to deadlines and you know that they're a necessary evil in your current life, but maybe you're thinking about, I really don't want to work with these deadlines anymore. And this other thing over here that I'm thinking about doing would allow me my creativity and I wouldn't have to have those deadlines, and I think I'd be more productive. So these are some questions that are very valid, and sometimes we need to walk around in these kinds of things. What about your accountability? Are you good being accountable to yourself, or do you need somebody to be accountable with? And I say accountable with because I would have said to you 20 years ago, I am very task oriented when I need to be. I can work on a deadline if I need to. I have goals, taught goals for years, how to break the goals down. I don't need an accountability partner. Well, I'm going to tell you that I just paid a sum of money for a 10-week program because there are just some additional things that I need to learn, not so much from a coaching in the business. I've had a lot of years of coaching, but a marketing in the business, a way to be able to reach more people in the business, and a way to do the reach out through technology, so through social media. I don't have all those skills, and I want to speed up my process of learning. And I realize that, you know what? When I'm given a task, I do it. And so accountability can sometimes be exactly what we need. And that's one of the things that I'm taking into my coaching. So maybe, as I said earlier on, program is perfect for you. It's more than enough. And you're so glad that we went through all this, and you're going to go through it 3 times, and you're going to pull it apart, and you're going to go down into the onion and peel that onion down until you get to your real why, or your real personality, or your real motivator, or your need to step away from deadlines. Whatever it is that you're going to do, this may be more than enough. But if it's not, and if you need to just drop in every once in a while and get a little inspiration, kick in the butt, whatever you want to call it, maybe joining the Facebook group of awesome women will be absolutely your cup of tea, or tuning up a YouTube every once in a while because you liked my style, or you liked some of the wisdom that I share. All awesome. Or you might decide, I really want a little bit more accountability with someone, not be pushed off the cliff, not to be told you have to do something that isn't congruent with you. So that's what a coach should do for you. So let's take this one more step. Actually, 2 more steps. An audit. What do you want in your life? Not what do you wish for, But what do you really want to do? Not try, but it has an I will do this attached to it. What is that for you? You need to kind of go down into an audit to see. So when you say yes, does it bring you joy? Does it fulfill you? Or do you feel torn? Do you feel fear? Are you filled with a lot of anguish or anxiety? So are you full of energy? Are you full of fear? Or is your fear really your energy? Are you willing to step out of your comfort zone and to do what is not comfortable? It is uncomfortable. Most of our growth happens when we are uncomfortable. It doesn't mean we race to get there, but when we are at that plateau where we need to make that next step, doing the uncomfortable thing is where the growth is. Staying where we are is stagnation. So do you know about the word no? So the word no is a complete sentence. It doesn't have to be no. It can just be no. It can be no, thank you. No, not at this time. But when you have your priorities clearly defined, you recognize that when you say no, not at this time, no, but thank you for asking, you are prioritizing what you're saying yes to. Your yes may be to something else important in your career. Your yes could be saying yes to being on the ball field when your son or daughter kicks that goal or makes that home run. Your yes could be taking that art class that you said that you've wanted to take just for yourself. So your no is important. So I want you to write down and fill in the blank. And again, this may be where you stop this video. Being your best. How does being your best make you feel? How does being true to your goals make you feel? Your goals, not the goals that somebody else set for you, not the things that you're supposed to do, but your goals, your dreams, your I will do this. Fill in the blank. How does it make you feel? So let's talk about your beliefs. I alluded to this earlier. So your beliefs will direct your time management, not your schedule. What? Of course, my schedule is what impacts my time management. Nope. Nope. Your beliefs really ultimately are underneath how you manage your time. Your beliefs are what will propel you ahead. So when you know your what I will do's, when you know that you will say no, you will rearrange things in your schedule. And we've all done that to some level. You know, if you're a woman out there who has had children, you had a big, I will do this. I will raise these kids with great values. And you've made other choices that have impacted your schedule. If you are a career person and you knew that you had to take an extra year or two of higher education or intense training, or you had to be away for a month for dig deep kind of work to help you get to that next promotional level, it wasn't the time that dictated your schedule. It was your passion. It was your desire. It was your I will do it that determined your schedule. So in the very beginning, I talked to you about your buts, your excuses, your rationalizations. That's where this comes in. So when you drill down 5 to 7 layers in your belief, where did those beliefs come from, and how do they support you? Are those beliefs that you've been telling yourself really true? Or are they just something that you've been living with day in and day out? Are they yours, or did you inherit them? Going back to also what I told you in the beginning, when I reached a certain point in my life, I decided to take my mother's message that I have an attitude and turn it into a positive that motivated me to say, yes, I do have an attitude. And life has shown me that that attitude carries my beliefs. It carries my personality, and that other people relate to that. That's why I've built several businesses. Right now, I'm also a yoga instructor. I have people who have been with me for 5, 6, 7, just celebrated the 10th anniversary of my little boutique studio. They are not with me because I am the most expert yoga instructor in the world. They are with me because of my attitude, my messaging, my belief in them. So please understand that you need to go down layers to get to have an honest conversation with yourself. So when I decided to really go into change transformation coaching, my first reason was not my real reason. I like people. I do. My second reason was I'm a good trainer. I am. My third reason, well, I can probably help women because I believe in women and I've been through a lot of what women have been through. I think I can help women. And so on and so forth until you go down really probably to that 7th layer. And in honesty, I realized that in this season of my life, I am not doing this because somebody else expects me to. I am not doing this for the financial reward. I am not doing this for my sense of recognition. I have been given a gift of relating to people and working with my intuition to make a difference in someone's life. And once I got down to that 7th layer, I knew I had to do this. So I want to, I think I will, I'm going to try this on for size. All of that went to the wayside as I got to my, I will do this. So I hope that that helps you to understand what that 7 layers means and to maybe peel away some of the layers for yourself. This is another area that a coach can be a really valuable collaborator. But let's talk about guilt, because oftentimes it's difficult to get to really understand our beliefs because we have some guilt. First of all, what does guilt mean to you? Does it serve you? Is it an old message? Whether you were parented a certain way, that you have some guilt, whether you didn't succeed in an agenda that you thought you would and you have some guilt, whether there's religious convictions that you've gone outside of and you carry guilt, whether you think that you should be perfect and you're not. Oh my goodness, you're human. I think that this isn't a perfect experience. So where does this guilt come from? And is it yours to carry, or should it be, how is it placed on your shoulders? And do you want it to stay on your shoulders? Only you can answer these kind of questions. I can only ask them, but I ask them in a manner that says, don't beat yourself up. Offer yourself some grace. You know, guilt or shame, and there's 2 different words in there. Guilt is pretty heavy. Shame is something that you say, I'm ashamed that I didn't help my friend more when she was going through a tough time. I kind of rushed her off the phone. I need to call her and say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I wasn't there for you. Or something like that, that you can ask for forgiveness or you can apologize for. That's shame. But guilt is so often misplaced. So what are you really guilty of? And if you are really carrying something that you're feeling guilty of, can you figure that out? Can you process it? Can you recognize that you were at a stage of your life that there wasn't anything else left in you to give to somebody else, and you've been carrying that around as a guilt, when in fact you were hurting and you just didn't have it to give? So try and get clear on the guilt or the shame, and then decide how to process it. So time, a little bit lighter topic than guilt and shame. Time is, are you giving it away? Are you valuing yourself? Are you wasting your time on things or people who don't need or appreciate you? Kind of even goes back to that high school person who did something that they knew they shouldn't have, or it wasn't in their value system, or they could have gotten in trouble for, or they broke curfew, but they did that so that people would like them. Well, this is kind of the adult version. Do we do things for people who don't appreciate us? They're never going to appreciate us. They're just going to take advantage of us. So I think they have some names for those kind of personalities, some of them more dangerous than others. So what are you connected to? What are you caught in? What is pulling you in one direction that are your characteristics, your strengths, your values, the things that you believe in about your best self? And what is pulling you away from your best self? A situation, a person, something like that. So the more you put into a situation, or maybe it's work, are you being appreciated? Are you being validated? Do you have this concept of, I have to show up, I have to do this perfectly, I have to do it better than anybody else, I have to put in more hours because you need the validation, because you're feeling, I don't know, if it's shame, guilt, I can't imagine. But why are you putting this on your shoulders? Did this message come from somewhere else? That you weren't good enough unless you gave it 100%? So again, I ask you, do you know how to say no? No, thank you. And realize that you're saying yes to other priorities in your life. So take the lesson, see about playing full out with your priorities and in congruency with your passion. So again, let's lighten up for a minute. Whether you call it the good angel or the bad angel, we all have self-doubt and we all have self-confidence. Sometimes we're feeling more confident, sometimes we're feeling less. But let's talk about what happens in ourselves. What are those voices saying? So this is your little superhero, that cute superhero. And then I thought, most of my clients are women, so if you're a gentleman, thank you for being here. And I hope that this has been beneficial. But this also pictures the woman, life on her shoulder, words that she's heard, things that she said in her head. So this is her saboteur. You're trying to be perfect. Nobody really loves me. I can't do it. I'm not good enough. So what I'd like for you to do, and this is a fun exercise, I'd like you to go back through your pictures. Some of you have them digital, some of them you have them printed out, whatever it might be. And I want you to find a picture of you. When you were your own superhero, when you were like, I've got this. I have a picture in my mind of one of my granddaughters, and she just finished a gymnastics meet, and she has medals around her neck, and she has her hands up, and she owns the world. She is so powerful and in her own space, confident. And then you might, so that's the picture you need to find of you, not necessarily in your gymnastics outfit, just finishing a meet with medals around your neck, but you get the idea. And then we need to find a picture or cut one out if you don't have one that resonates with you about how you feel when your saboteur is talking to you. That person inside of you that says, you don't got this. This is not you. This is somebody else. And I would put them on a popsicle stick. And maybe you keep them in your purse, maybe you keep them at your desk, maybe they're in your briefcase, maybe you have more than one, a copy of more than one. And so when you're on the phone with a colleague, or you're on the phone and you're listening to, maybe it's a family member even who's saying, what makes you think you should invest $5,000 or $10,000 to do X, Y, or Z? You've never owned your own business. You've never done that before. Or you have a colleague that you're working with, and that colleague says to you, you know, I know that they put you into this leadership role, but honestly and truly, I just don't think it's the right place for you. I think you should back out and let Joe take this role. I don't know what your message is, but I want you to have those two pictures so that when your negative message is talking to you, you pull out your superhero. You see those medals around your neck and you feel that confidence. So that's your assignment. Go and give those two people, your superhero and your saboteur, give them a name. So your inner villain, what does that inner villain say to you? And so again, this is just to keep it a little bit light. You know, so maybe if you want to take a picture of this and you open up your phone when you're feeling like somebody's talking to you and you're getting kind of negative vibes, you can open up your phone, you can look at this little happy face. Ooh, happy face. Ooh, I don't want to be afraid face. A surprise face. So kind of just good little reminders for you. What do you want to have in your head? What is your mindset? What are you feeding yourself with? So I just challenge you to take these and listen to the words and see what you're saying to yourself. So let me flip into this next slide. And then you can flip into the powerful side. You can see the visual. So you can create these pictures in your mind of yourself. And I don't know if you noticed what I just did, but it comes from Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins is, I mean, he's just such a magnificent man, a powerful man, understands brain and brain chemistry and how our reptilian brain wants to protect us and how we need to break through. And so I bring you this because he says, take your move. And so I've been through enough of his courses that when he says take your move, I just automatically, I have my move. And that move changes. So the physiology of your body is changed by the psychology of your mind. So what we put in, junk out in computer language, but you just really want to protect what's going on up here. So think about your body language. What are you projecting out? You know, I'm your leader today. I just have some things that we're going to accomplish, and I need all of you to participate. Or, thanks for being here. We have an agenda. I'm going to lead you through it. We're going to come up to some stumbling blocks. We're just going to bust through them, and we're going to do this together. And at the other end of this, we're all going to feel empowered, and we're going to celebrate. So who would you rather have as your leader? So what are the words that you hear, again, from your superhero? So your superhero is giving you, putting you in a situation, and you're calling up the words that are going to empower you to get through that situation. So think of your words. Maybe you even make a list of your words. something that you can put on by your computer screen. So I'll show you what my water bottle says. Everything always works out for me. Everything always works out for me. Everything always works out for me. Try it on, decide. Because in my mind, it does. It may not work out in my time frame. It may not even work out exactly the way I see it. But you know that old adage, sometimes you don't get what you want, you get what you need. Well, maybe this is where you can really kind of see that playing out. So one of the things that you can do for your mindset is the saboteur and having those pictures and getting that out. Maybe having a picture on your phone when you're feeling a little frustrated, just excuse me, take that out, look at those smiley faces or that angry face or that surprise face. But one of the other things that I want you to consider is that you read for 10 to 20 minutes daily. I know you don't have a lot of time. I know you can come up with a but or an excuse. And if you can't read for 10 to 20 minutes, what about a podcast? When you're driving to work, when you're cooking a meal, when you're taking your walk, popping in a podcast. Now, I will tell you that this is something that I never grew up with podcasts. I didn't really understand the power of some podcasts, but I have taken this on. And it comes because I was given a challenge when I was at one of the Tony Robbins seminars by one of the trainers. And podcasts have made a difference. They've encouraged me. They've had me listen to totally different personalities and styles. I've gotten some good tips. So if you're not a reader, then think about a podcast. If you are inspired by the Bible, then read the Bible. So whatever it is for you, feed your mind. Take that 10, 15, or 20 minutes. Breathe while you're doing it. Nice inhaling and exhaling breaths. Can't be a yoga instructor and not give you this one. Change your body posture. Take your move. Little things. Go balance. Stand on one foot and just balance and listen to the quiet in your head. Beautiful things happen. Beautiful messages happen when you're quiet. And when you're in a balance, it brings quiet. So again, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for going through this course. As you go through the PowerPoint that will be attached to this course, you're going to be, there are some videos popped in there that will take you through some of my Thoughtful Thursdays, different cute messages, funny messages, questioning messages, uncomfortable messages. So you can go to just the ones that I've embedded in this program, or you can go to my YouTube channel and check in anytime. So I hope that if you're someone that is a self-learner, then this course has been just on target for you. My hope is that this helps you to have perhaps a starting place on your journey of transformation, and that I've been a catalyst for that, and that will make me feel very excited for you, and it will help me on my I will do this kind of methodology, this thinking, to bring this to you and to have an impact with you. There is a space for you to message me. You can message me with, wow, this was my moment. This was a turning point. This is what I discovered. This is the new vocabulary I've decided to take. This is what I'm doing for my mindset. Or if you have a question, please feel free. I will do my very best to answer everyone in a timely manner. If I don't answer you in a timely manner, I will answer you, period. So that is my commitment to you. Now, if you're somebody who benefits from that interaction, the Facebook link is here. The YouTube link is here. And if you do best working with others in a discussion group right now, what my My plans are, I'm moving away from one-on-one coaching because I see such a value in group coaching. The groups will not be any larger than 25. They'll probably not be any smaller than 10 so that we have enough energy to share. So if you are thinking that you would like to have a coach who is leading one of these groups, please reach out and let me know. I will facilitate discussions. We will have problem solving and brainstorming. I will give both inspiration, motivation, and accountability. And these sessions will run for 3 weeks. Then you'll have a week off. If you only needed the 3 weeks, you're good to go. If you want another 3 weeks, you'll join in again. If you're taking 2 months off and you want to come back for 3 weeks, love to have you. So there's a lot of flexibility in here. It's a very reasonable price. I will be happy to share the pricing with you when you reach out to me, because each client that I take into a group, there will be about a 15-minute kind of conversation to see why you think I'm right for you and which group I think will be best for you, so that we can get you in the right place, doing the right thing at the right time. Again, this is Coach Sandy. I absolutely appreciate you being here. I appreciate that you've taken this course. I'm going to stop this share right now, and I'm going to thank you from my heart. I sincerely hope that this has touched you, reached you, and in some ways helped to take you through the curves of life and on your journey. So I'm going to close out with Coach Sandy saying, make it a wonderful life. Enjoy your journey. Take care.